Hello, everyone. So today I wanted to sit down with an expert professional. I've been getting a lot of questions about how do you transition to homeschooling, what's homeschooling like as a parent and also doing school. And then just seen that in a lot of the community I work with. So I wanted to sit down with Val Straussman today, who has a master's in education from FIU. She's a homeschool mom, public school educator, currently works for the Broward County School District, training new teachers, and she's also my mom. So today we're going to go ahead and sit down, and I'm just going to ask her some questions. She's going to answer and bring you all some sick knowledge, all right, because she's been on both sides of the homeschooling and public school education fence. So first of all, welcome. How are you doing today?
Hi. Oh, it's great to be with you, and great to be here answering questions about homeschooling and schooling in this environment that we find ourselves in today with not a whole lot of thinking. We just kind of got thrown into it. So I'm glad to be here and be of help if I can be.
That's right. All right. So what brought you into homeschooling?
Well, actually what brought me into homeschooling, I didn't really plan on homeschooling. I had planned on my kids going to public school. However, I was a public school teacher, and after a lot of reflecting as a public school teacher that taught high school social studies at the time, I could not ignore the fact that many of my students did not like to read, could not read well. If they could actually decode, they had comprehension problems. So at the time, there was a different methodology for teaching reading. Since that time, that was 25 years ago, since that time we have shifted our teaching of students in the lower grades to be more decoding and then heavy on the comprehension. So that isn't necessarily happening today, but at the time that was what was happening. So I would say more than 50% of my students could not read at grade level, or even more could not comprehend. So I really thought that maybe I would just homeschool my children, teach them to read at home, because I had an active curiosity about what it took for students to read well and really enjoy reading. So I had done a lot of research. I was working on a master's at that time. So I was able to go to a research library and look at a lot of specific evidence-based research for reading. And I thought I had a program that might benefit my own children if I taught them to decode and comprehend text, even though I was a high school teacher. So that's what I decided. And I had more than 3 months to prepare myself to start homeschooling, which is not the case for your participants. They're just being thrown into it. One Friday, the decision was made and they were all homeschoolers on Monday. So they don't have the benefit of the time that I had.
Awesome. Do you remember what it was like in those 3 months when you were thinking about making that transition and shift? What was going through your mind?
A lot of back and forth. Am I doing the right things for my children? We always want our children to be the main focus. And I think most homeschoolers come to that idea as this has to be beneficial to the student for it to make sense for you to go forward with that decision. I did a lot of research, lined up my curriculum, chose my curriculum, and had the time to do that. But was shaky throughout that 3 months, questioning myself, am I making the right decision for myself, my family, and my kids? So that's what I did over the summer before I started.
Nice, right on. So how did you notice homeschooling change over the years as you started the journey and as I got older, as my sister got older, as we were growing up?
Well, actually, which probably pretty good for your participants, what I did originally was basically bring school into my home and homeschool that way. We had a structure to the day. We homeschooled most of the day. We homeschooled 5 days a week. I got through all the workbooks that I had chosen and the specific reading program that I had chosen off of what I told you, that research-based. We got through that about halfway through the year. So I just started some first grade books and did some other kindergarten books, because you can actually get through doing schoolwork at home much quicker than what it takes in a school environment. So over the years that shifted. Like, I had to rethink, are worksheets the best way to teach my students at home? Just get the workbooks and bring them home, besides the reading program that I had invested in, which was all hands-on. So it shifted, especially when I started homeschooling you, that did not enjoy homeschooling like your older sister did. So I shifted to about 2 to 3 hours a day with a schedule, put a lot more responsibility on my children to do the work, besides just me sitting next to them and getting the work done and shifting off. You know, you were given so many hours and she was given so many hours. So we eventually, through elementary school, we got down to 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. One day was you had a PE program and music lessons that you went to on those days. So schooling can actually be done in a much shorter time frame than the traditional school. So they need to know that you don't have to spend a whole lot of hours on this.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's cool to hear. And I have memories of working towards blizzards and smoothies. My big, excellent reward at the end of the year for doing all that work.
It was worth it, right? A blizzard?
It was so worth it.
A Dairy Queen.
One blizzard a year.
All those hours invested in learning. But
every single day.
Honestly, learning did transfer away from worksheets and transferred into actual, live lessons. Sometimes it was teaching fractions with having a pizza in front of you and asking you guys questions and having it divided up. And when you divide it even further, what is the fraction? Sometimes it was playing a game of Uno and having whoever was working on addition, adding up all of our cards. And so it became more real life than worksheet oriented. So you might have some students out there that are in high school that are older also. And so for them, obviously the content takes longer, but there's so many websites now. There's so many videos, Khan Academy. I love John Green's Crash Course that's they're able to watch a 5-minute video and gather information and then maybe complete the worksheet to show that they have proficiency or that they're mastering or practicing what they're learning about.
Excellent. Yeah, those real life lessons. I remember Dad wanting me to calculate which would be the best unit price for bag.
I think
not just the price of the chips, but the unit price has to be the best.
I think at first, each one of you, I would take you to the grocery store with me, and I'd have you doing conversions and stuff like that, just like Dad. And eventually, you guys stopped wanting to go to the grocery store with me because you a math lesson.
Exactly, those little lessons, but they're excellent. I still remember them. For sure.
Good.
So I'm wondering, you've talked a little bit about your experience in that journey, kind of going forward. I'm wondering, as a mom, like during these parts, what were some of the joys and what were some of the challenges of being trying to do the homeschool thing? You were also doing your own school at the time. So what was that like?
Well, I'll talk about the joys first of all. It's always joyful to see your children learning to read, reading well, being a family that surrounded itself with reading and comprehension, listening to audiobooks together. And that's what I suggest, you know, after you get past the decoding part, but to actually listen to them together. We would go to the library and get audiobooks. Now audiobooks is giving a free subscription, which we would have definitely loved to have had, but we're able to use the library at that time. Your participants can't use the library except for they can get books on tape through an electronic system. So I would suggest that too. A lot of times there was a lot of stuff going through my mind of things I had to get done because I was so busy with schooling you. I had students that I was tutoring at the time to make money in the afternoon, you know, and all those activities that you were involved in at the end of the day with soccer and softball and basketball and all that kind of stuff. So it was a busy lifestyle. So the audiobooks allowed me to have a rest, to let my mind be thinking about the book with you, to be stopping and talking about what was going on in the storyline, making sure that you understood, you know, if the author was using different types of ways for you to understand an underlying meaning. So I know students don't always like you to stop the book, so you might have to preface that you are going to be stopping and talking about the content of the book before you even start, because if you just like have the book on and then all of a sudden you stop it and they're at a place where they want to know what happens next. So you might have to tell them that we're going to listen to a book together and occasionally I'm going to stop it and we're going to talk about what the meaning the author is trying to get to. What about the characters? You know, let's do a character analysis. And so you might have to preface before you start reading that together.
Right, yeah. You know, be like, what happened?
Why are you stopping it?
So that sounds like a really fun time, and those times stood out to you as like being really joyous and like being like warm memories. And what were some of like the challenges of trying to like navigate all that?
Well, I'm sure for me and for your participants right now, time is a big challenge for them. Time is, you know, it's hard to overcome that. Some of them are working, some of them are actually going to school themselves, and they might have 2, 3 children, even one child, and life, you have life, you have bills to pay, you have, you know, companies to call, all those kind of things. So prioritizing is the most important thing. Get your priorities, what you have to do. Provide an explanation to your children that, look, these are all the things we have to get done. Everything that on this list is important. We have to make time for each one of these things. And sometimes, you know, I'm going to get you started on your work, but I might be on a phone call when you have a question. So you might have to wait until I get off of a phone call because it's a business call and that's important. So providing that explanation of the structure of the day. I think you remember we sat down every single morning before you started and we made a plan of how much time you were going to spend on something. So we had a schedule and in what order you were going to do it. Now, I didn't do any of those things while I was trying to make breakfast, make a phone call. I set aside that time where I had a lot of patience early in the morning. That was the best for our family, is to get up in the morning and get the schoolwork done. It might not work for them that way. They might have to check in the morning with their boss. They might have to have an assignment in by a certain time. But having that structure allows you to know that you can complete your day. you would not want to start homeschooling at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't want to wait until the later hours. Kids get tired at that point. Many times having a lot of free time before you ask them to sit down is not always what the child needs. However, every child is different, and knowing your children and knowing what works best for them. And they're smart enough for you to let them have some say in what goes on in that day. So take the time to set up a structure, include your children in that decision. And all children need structure. And I'm going to tell you that structure is important. I've said it like 5 times now. But you also have to be flexible. So at the same time, you have to have a structure in place. You must be flexible. And anything that you need, your children also need to know. So you need to teach them about being flexible. You know, okay, we have the schedule, and maybe you write it down on a bulletin board or something every single day. But if mommy is on the phone or daddy's on the phone and we have a business call and we've said that you're going to finish your math by such and such a time, you have to teach your children that they need to be flexible and they can't throw a tantrum, and it's just not going to work, that they should go on to something else, or you should have another activity in mind for them, like maybe read to self during the time when you cannot address their concerns.
Gotcha, having like that plan to go on, but also having that flexibility and flow so that you're not stuck in any one place.
Right.
Or if new things. Also, it's like an opportunity to actually teach them. I just feel like I got a little punked because I was told I had to do all this work and finish all these things, and there was never any oversight. It was just me. So I feel like I got a little punked. I was like, oh, I have to do all this work.
Are you sure there was no oversight? I was checking to make sure and checking in with you because my mornings were basically, you know, given over to homeschooling. I tried to, you know, keep that open and try not to do too much laundry, too much, you know, if I could throw in a load, that was fine, but was really running from room to room to make sure that you guys were on task. I wasn't going to interrupt you if you were working, but just checking in. You were the type of child that liked to know exactly what had to be done, how much time was expected to complete it.
That sounds right, yeah.
And then check it off. So, but what I discovered more from you than from your sister is that you did not learn well from workbooks. That yes, you could manage to complete the assignments, but you weren't necessarily learning it, mastering it, and using it as you moved forward. So we had to do a little bit of like reflection on that this is not the best way for you to learn. Experiential was your best way for you to learn. Actually experience what you were supposed to be learning about. So I had to throw the workbooks out for you and try to do hands-on. And
speaking of
for students, for all students. I mean, you wouldn't want to try to teach a doctor completely from a textbook. You would want him to be able to go in and see a surgery. You would want him to work on maybe a dummy before he tried to actually do it on a human being. So experiential kinesthetic learning usually fits most modalities of learning. However, not everything can be kinesthetic. You know, sometimes you have to read and do your grammar workbook and learn it that way. But then you have to write an essay and you have to apply that knowledge to what you have learned to what you're writing.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point about experiential learning, and I'm wondering what tips you have or like fun, cool ideas to help parents be creative about learning? Since you just mentioned like some kids might be more experiential, this might be a cool time to try out different kinds of learning. So yeah, what ideas do you have?
Well, for your visual learners, I would say videos. You can watch videos, on even experiments and labs. They're all online. You can see all that. Science is a very hands-on activity. You can still order science kits and stuff like that over the internet, so that kids can, actually see what's going on, changing, gases to liquids and that kind of stuff. If you don't have the tools at home, which a lot of times you have all that stuff, baking soda and stuff like that, that you can do in science. With reading and decoding, whiteboards are excellent. Shaving cream, where they're writing their sounds. I refer to everything as a sound rather than a letter name, because that's just the program that I brought into our home, is that letter names sometimes interfere. Letter names where you say the sound and they've taught them, saying it twice interferes. So just saying it once. So you can teach your kids to decode to blend just by saying sounds and words like ah. What word does that make? And get them to, if they can't blend the three sounds, get them to blend the first two. Mat. And doing that maybe in sand, out with a stick, in the dirt, in, like I said, shaving cream. All kids love the shaving cream trick, where they write it with their finger and say the sound as they're learning their sounds. So, and what else? So we talked about decoding, audiobooks for audio learning, doing that as a whole family, so the whole family knows the storyline, bringing in different events that you can compare themes to, that kind of stuff. Math, I fully prescribe to, in the lower grades, learning a lot of math by cooking. All kids like to cook. Learning measurements, seeing that response. If you don't put in baking soda, what happens? What happens if you do put in baking soda? Get this nice fluffy cookie. If you don't use baking soda in a recipe when you're supposed to, you get a flat cake. So just experience and experimenting with that kind of stuff. Anything that you can do hands-on. We used to sit around at restaurants and try to discover a number somebody was thinking about just by saying if it's higher or lower and seeing how many times it would take. We gave you guys no guidance on that, but you noticed that we were getting to the number a lot faster when it was our turn, because you kind of went into the middle. So problem solving, having kids like, well, why do you think that it only took us 5 times? What did we do that you weren't doing? Well, you went up one number. Well, is that going to get you to the number the most times? So that kind of stuff, just letting them think it out, letting your kids think it out. They can think and they enjoy thinking. They enjoy learning, actually. Sometimes school kind of ruins the learning process by doing too many worksheets.
Yeah. I was going to say that I think that those are the memories I have really of those kind of like hands-on learning. And whenever I think about homeschooling, it's like those kind of times. So thinking about ways to actually do that throughout the day instead of just the stand like view of like going to school and doing everything. Like I remember like those times as well.
I saw an interesting thing on Facebook the other night, and that was playing Battleship. This homeschool mom has Battleship with the periodic table. So instead of just having a ship there, you're calling all the elements on the periodic table. and they're learning the periodic table at the same time. They're having fun with the game, and they don't know the difference.
That's so dope. I want to play that now. Can we do that afterwards?
Go online, it's all free. Just search it, Battleship with the periodic table, and it'll come up. She's got all kinds of games on her website.
Speaking of like all the websites, one thing we had talked about earlier is that there's a ton of information out there, and people are getting really overwhelmed now with all the free resources, but the amount of them. So any like top places you would go to send parents, or any kind of advice for how to get through all the different resources out there?
Well, if it's math, I would recommend Prodigy. It's a free game-like math program. Most of it's free. They keep it free because if you want to upgrade, you can pay extra for the upgrade to go to different levels. But most of the free stuff will keep your children occupied. And like I said, it's a gaming format for it, but it's been one of the best sites that I've seen for math. You have Time for Learning, which has all the content for all the grade levels. I don't know if they have a free resource on that right now, but that's a good program, and it's very inexpensive. The audiobooks I would be doing, you're concentrating on mostly math and reading for the elementary grade levels. So for older kids, Khan Academy is excellent. It's all free. It has all the different subjects, but mostly it started in math. So it has short, very, very short videos. I actually used to use it when I was tutoring in math, because math, I'm obviously ELA type person. I have a master's in reading. So, but I did have sometimes after students, we worked on comprehension. The parents wanted me to work with math. And I can do math to a higher level, but it's always the explanation. So for the parents that might be able to understand what they're asking for, but not really know what the words, the vernacular that you're going to use to get the thought across on math, pull up a Khan Academy video that's like 3 minutes, watch it, watch the step-by-step procedures for solving, and work it out with your child. So and audiobooks, I would take them up on that free website. For younger kids, there's lots of free programs of celebrities reading books, so that you can go on YouTube, get those. I would surround them with reading right now. The investment in time of reading just 20 minutes a day makes such a big difference in your child's life, his whole academic career. 20 minutes a day. So, and that can be 20 minutes of you reading to them before they learn to read, 20 minutes where you share reading while they're learning to read. You read a page, I'll read a page. Or 20 minutes of the child reading to you. It doesn't really matter. It exposes them to so many words that they would never have been exposed to. It exposes them to comprehension and understanding of text, and it will change your child's life at his academic course moving forward of his life.
Okay.
Their life.
Awesome. 20 minutes a day. Fantastic.
20 minutes a day. We spend a lot more than 20 minutes a day reading, though. Because you would, you know, with your kids, when you have to work and they're past, maybe they don't need a nap time anymore, send them to the room and have quiet time. You guys always went to quiet time in your room because mom needed a little time to herself. Maybe you get that dinner on, or do some chores, or make some phone calls. So, but it's no video games. It's quiet time. It's either looking at a book or listening to a book, or just simply shutting down and relaxing for, 20 to 30 minutes a day. So, and try to have all your kids do it at the same time.
Yeah. That's a great segment into what I wanted to know about. How do you take care of yourself as a parent, right? So you mentioned like, yeah, how do you get some time from the crazy kids from us and like just decompress, or yeah, how do you manage your own like well-being while trying to take care of two other people?
Well, it's not easy. And you have to plan for it, like you're saying. And you have to know that this is a necessity right now. So parents are at a huge disadvantage right now because they're trying to keep it light for their kids. They don't want to make this more than a child can handle. So you have to be optimistic. But yet inside their minds, it's going on and on about is our economy going to be okay? Is anybody in my family going to get sick? So you have to, like Jason was saying, you have to take care of yourself. And whatever that is, that could be having time to read your Bible, having time to do yoga, having time to do meditation, get a meditation app that you can just sit for 20 minutes and take the stress off of yourself.
Mhm.
Make sure the kids are taken care of so that you're not interrupted. And just having maybe a mind shift, a growth mind shift, growth mindset, where we're not always going to be in this situation. Take a look at this as a positive step that you get to spend time with family. I know I've connected with all kinds of people. I try to take at least every single day, I try to take at least a half an hour of my day and connect with somebody that I haven't had time to connect with them. So that's what I do for myself. And, just to reconnect, I try not to get on the phone. And even if that person that I'm talking to has negativity about what's happening, I try to shift my mindset to be not like, oh, this is going to all be okay, don't you worry, but to actually see steps. Wow, when we first started this, there was no hope for a vaccine. They were talking about a year and a half. Gosh, I heard yesterday on the phone that they're using antibodies from people that have survived coronavirus. I heard that they're having people lay prone and on their left side so that they don't need a ventilator. Just you don't have to be like, oh yes, it's all going to be okay. Science is going to take care of us. But maybe have a few things that you can talk about that has a positive side of it. I know it's difficult with parents that are shut in, that you cannot see your parents, and your parents want to see you. They probably don't have going on in what you have in your house with children and all of that. They're probably spending some lonely hours now. So, make sure you stay in touch with them. You'll feel better if you can add a little brightness to their day. So maybe bring up something with your parents or grandparents of a memory that you want to talk about with them. And all that feeds your self-care when you brighten somebody else's day. If that's not happening, if you have a parent that you can't change their mindset, then make sure that you're working on yourself, being understanding of your parent, understanding that this is not a good time. This is a very scary time for them, being on a fixed income, and just releasing that when you're off the phone, and try to talk to yourself, like I said, with meditation, scriptural reading, yoga, something that opens your mind up to be freer.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I learned a lot of that from my son.
No way. Yeah. Vice versa.
The son now
Switching to that
mother.
positive.
That's the great thing about homeschooling is your kids become smarter than you.
That's not true. Look at all those books. You got it all on lock over there.
I'm all set up I'll be retiring in 3 years. I'm all set up for tutoring. I want to go back to that one-on-one individual. I love what I do working with teachers today, bringing in new teachers, developing them, supporting them, because they need a lot of support, just like you parents need a lot of support. That's what I do for teachers, providing them with support for lesson plans, classroom management. But my one love is to teach reading. And so I love to do that. I love to bring reading to children. And so I'll be going back to that in 3 years, having my own little private one-on-one here. Although now with all of what I've seen, that you can do electronically, I've actually offered for my 4-year-old niece to teach her on, we use Teams, I guess, Zooms, is I've made her a whole basket up there of reading materials. So she'll go envelope by envelope, and we're going to try it on the internet. So I'm going to start with her this summer, and we'll see how that goes before she enters kindergarten.
Oh yeah. So now I see. So this is all just a commercial for your future business, right? That's what this is.
Absolutely not. It is my joy to teach children to read. So this is my passion. This is myself, taking care of myself and enjoying life and fulfilling what I should be doing. So we'll see where
I got you. I'm excited to see the YouTube channel and all your followers.
Hey, it might happen. It might happen.
It will, yeah.
I hope so. If I can bring reading to more people, then that's, then that's my life's ambition, is to bring more people into enjoying reading, especially young people. So
yeah. So what final thoughts do you have for us today? It's been so cool just hearing about your experience and just sitting down. I think this is part of my self-care, like you said, like a way for us to connect in a new way, and to also share with other people. So it's been really, really cool for me on my end. But any final thoughts you got for us? Like any more nuggets of wisdom?
I think I would advise you to be easy on yourself. This is all brand new. You didn't have time to prepare for it. You were just kind of thrown into it. It's are there going to be bumps? Yeah, there's going to be bumps. But your children's eyes are on you right now. So the way you handle this, the way you manage it, your children will learn to adapt to handling it. So even though I talked about structure, be flexible. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay to show that to your children. Actually, our children make mistakes all the time. We talk to them about what they did wrong. What are they going to do to fix it? Sometimes we have them go apologize to the person and talk about next time they're going to make better choices. Well, that's okay for your children to see when you make mistakes. Hey, I'm sorry, I lost my temper today with you. I know we had, a system that we were supposed to follow, and I was supposed to set you up. I got a phone call before I got set up. I'm sorry that happened. I will try to make sure that my office doesn't call at that hour, and that they know that I prioritize getting you started. So, but always be willing to say what you have done wrong to your children and be an example of, I was wrong. Ask your kids for forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Tomorrow's going to be a better day, as long as you reflect on it and make choices moving forward. So I think you just have to be accepting of the situation you're in. Enjoy this. Find the joy in it. Find the joy that you get time to spend with your children. You probably won't have this time later. It goes really, really fast. And then they're all grown up. So just be accepting of your mistakes. and enjoy it. Enjoy
Fantastic.
the ride.
That's a great word from me, and I think everyone else, to just be easy with ourselves. For
Right.
you too, did it. Well, this has been so rad. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate sitting down with you and connecting in this way.
All right. This was great. I enjoyed it too. Take care.
All right, peace.
Peace out.